Hello everyone, the Alphaless here and welcome back to my channel. So, the title of this video likely will be a misdiagnosis, or why men are misdiagnosed, right? So, let's talk about the word misdiagnosis, right? If you go to the doctor and you say you have a leg pain and they say that you have the flu without even checking your fever, that would be a misdiagnosis. They're looking at a problem and they are giving an incorrect cause to that effect, right? Or they are giving you an improper solution of solving the problem. This is what happens in society, right? You know, we talk about it all the time. I do believe there was an over-sexualization of our culture. I do believe there is, you could say, the more feminization of our culture. You know, these things have happened as we've sought to change society and things like that. But one of the problems society talks about with men, is that men aren't doing what they used to do. They say that men are weaker than ever before, that men are not disciplined, men are not strong like they used to be. And this is a problem that could be observed, absolutely, but what's the root of the problem? What's the cause? Like, what's making this effect? Is it just men's fault that they're just not strong enough? I believe that is a misdiagnosis of the problem. Yes, there's many things that have happened that have changed the psychology, you could say the physiology, the way of thinking of young men today. Absolutely. But it goes deeper. It goes deeper. Today, discipline is treated like a personality trait. What that means is that if you're disciplined, it just means you're just a really good person. You're just a good guy if you're motivated. And if you're not, well, you're just a bad guy. You're not worthy of the things society has to offer because you're not disciplined. While discipline is needed, I don't believe it's just an inequality that some may just kind of have and some just don't have altogether. Let me be clear, altogether. Not that there are not advantages, not that there are not some people that just naturally have stronger willpower or a little bit tougher mentally. I'm kind of piggybacking off of yesterday's video, just so you know. But discipline as a whole, or in conjunction, or corporately as a society, is a product. It is an outcome, not solely a starting point. Even someone that is disciplined more naturally, there's a reason as to why that person chooses to be disciplined. It's a response. And I believe that discipline is built on structure. This is something I've been speaking about a little bit, and I desire to crystallize, to expand upon it, and to keep drilling the point home that you need structure in order to build discipline. And I do believe hope and vision come before that structure, and we'll talk about that. But if you don't have like a structure, if you don't have a reason, if you don't have like a clear path, why wouldn't you just go down the path of pure hedonism and just go all in on pleasure and fun and just seeking to do what you want to do all the time? Why would men not go that route? Not that men are even going that route all that much, but we see it more than ever. We're seeing it more than ever. The pleasure-driven mindset of society, namely on men. It's because that pleasure is going to fill the vacuum of unclear purpose. Meaning, if there's no purpose, if there's no direction, if there's no goal towards striving for, you're just going to be seeking pleasure. You're just going to be doing what feels good in the moment. And it's not always just a moral failure, it's typically like a lack of order. It's a lack of that structure, you know? And arguably, that's what masculinity is. It's that order in the midst of that chaos. And I believe that's what being masculine is. It's learning to be logically thinking. It's learning to find structure in the midst of chaos and in the midst of emotion. And like this worked before, because societies that were successful, they gave men a clear path. Young men knew the direction they were headed in. They knew what they were becoming. They knew what they were striving towards. And discipline was just a natural byproduct of that. It followed naturally. You could even look just a few decades ago. I would argue that that's one of the main things that have been lost in modern society, is that structure for young men to build upon is gone. That foundation of knowing what they need to do. Even if like 100 years ago, 50 years ago, it was the American dream. Work hard, get a job, get a trade, and or get an education, find your high school sweetheart or somebody in your town or your local area that you like, settle down, have children, work hard, provide for your family. Why pick a fancy American dream? That was the vision. That was the structure. That's what arguably the American civilization was built upon during that time. And as society is changing, we've lost that. And because that structure is gone, men are now having to carve out and create their own structure. They're having to say, okay, the future is not looking that bright for me. I'm looking at the people 10 years older than me, 20 years older than me, 30 years older than me. And not only do I not want to go on that path, but in this current society, it's hard to even achieve what the older generations achieve because it's like a much higher skill gap. Seemingly. It's just my personal opinion more so. But the structure's gone. Men are now having to create that reality and create that structure for themselves. And without that path, they're going to be distracted. They're going to be wandering around. They're going to be loathing themselves, feeling guilty. And it's just going to create a spiral and an endless loop of hedonistic pleasure and self-blame. I've learned beating myself up isn't going to solve the problem. Hard way. Learned it the hard way. No matter how much you talk down on yourself and, oh, I'm weak, it's not going to solve the problem. There's weakness, but how do you build that strength? There's foolishness, but how do I make myself smart and wise and competent and resourceful? But once a man has a vision, that vision will give him motivation. It will inspire him. Not so much like the grit of, I gotta do this, but it will make him feel a little bit happy, like there's hope, like there's something to strive towards, there's something to reach out for, there's something to aim for. But even then, and even when knowing what you need to do, this is another layer of the problem with the self-improvement niche. Many of us know what we need to do. If you're watching this video, maybe you're overweight and you've been knowing you need to get in that gym. Shout out to you if you started. And if you're building consistency over time, even if it's over a year. Congratulations. You're still doing better than most. Direction without focus isn't enough. Because once you know it needs to be done, then you have to actually do it needs to be done. That's why a lot of men have been stuck for so long. In different measures, I've been stuck there for a year. Not completely. I've made a lot of progress in different aspects. I've learned a lot. I've gained a lot of experiences. I know, what I'm striving for in terms of business and success. I know what I'm striving for in terms of physicality and my physical body. I know what I want as far as dating, and I have my priorities in order. And I'm seeking to get them more and more in order, to not be distracted by these other cares. You need focus. Because then there can be panic. And there can be, it's just too hard, or I don't know what to do, or where do I go, how do I start? And then you can get in this loop of just consuming content, and not actually doing the things that need to be done. Does it sound familiar? Does that sound like something you've been stuck in or trapped in for a long time? This is where most men are. Or most men in the self-improvement niche are, because they know they need to get started, they know they need to make progress, but either they don't know where to go, or they don't feel enough hope inside of themselves, and you could say self-belief, to believe that they can do what needs to be done. So men do need some sense of hope. Not just relying on motivation, but like a reason why deep down. So much to where you're logically convinced of what needs to be done. And you're logically convinced enough when you find yourself actively seeking to move and make progress. That could take a few months to build that mindset, but it needs to be done. Direction without focus isn't enough. You gotta learn how to focus and to order the mind. You may have structured the outer world in your mind, or you may be finding a structure that you want to build. You may be finding order of operations, order of what you want to do. You may be finding or have an idea of what you want to do in the direction that you're going. But it goes deeper. I'm going to tell you how it goes deeper. The mind controls the body. Right? You can know the direction that you want to go, but your mind is still needed to control your body. You can't walk without your mind. Your mind doesn't just, your legs don't just walk naturally. Your mind controls. It's like the base, it's like the command center that orders the rest of the body. When my hand is doing this, my brain was already telling my hands and my fingers to do this before it did it. It didn't do it on its own. My brain had to order and send the signals to my hand to make it move around like this. My brain orders the movement of my eyelids and my tongue and my mouth to speak. You have to order the mind in order to be able to control the body. And you get this through clear direction of mind. You get this through focus of mind. And focus is such an important skill that most don't really understand it. Focus is probably what it takes to be a scientist. Focus is what it takes to be an excellent martial artist or fighter. Focus is what it takes in any aspect of life, even dating. being present with the person that you're with, not just being so in your head and lost in the emotional chaos, but focusing. Focusing on the person, focusing on the conversation, focusing on the setting. Focus orders the mind. That's what it does. It brings clarity to the mind, and you can learn how to focus through building a meditative mindset. Some people do things like reading, which could be good. I recommend just starting off with meditation. Now, I've gotten to the point where I can meditate, say, 20 minutes a day consistently. Once you're at the point where you can meditate 20 minutes straight, you don't really need to do more than that, because then you're just going to be spending time. You can be doing other things. You just focus on your breath. You try to focus on your breath and the feelings that you have in your body. And then when the thoughts start happening in your mind, you want to catch those thoughts, stop them, and then return to your breath work. What you're doing is you're going to be teaching yourself how to focus. And just doing that practical exercise, you can learn how to catch your thoughts when they're drifting. You can learn how to catch the emotional responses in your brain before you even start to have them. Emotion is called energy in motion. Thoughts are like the energy trapped inside of you. You gotta find a way to let it out in a positive way. And once you learn how to direct your energy inside of you, once you learn how to direct your body by clearing your mind and focusing on what's important, the body would come naturally, and you're not going to be fighting yourself all day. It's not going to be as hard to be disciplined. So, yeah, you gotta order the mind, and the body will follow. Get the vision right, and clarity and consistency will follow. Thank y'all. I'll see y'all in the next one.